Okay, thank you. I'm Doug Funke. I'm the president of Citizens of Regional Transit. We're a local transit advocacy organization here in the Buffalo area. We'll talk a little bit about our thoughts on transit. How do I? Okay, I got it. I got it. Okay. The motivation for this talk, we went to a CNU program in Chautauqua about a year ago. Wonderful, all the same sorts of ideas that we saw today, but nothing about transit. And that one, I was really encouraged today. There was a lot about transit, so I think that the message is getting out. But we feel it's very important to include transit. We all know what we want to achieve: walkable, bikeable, mixed use, complete streets. But we need to have transit. Here are a couple of examples here in Buffalo. Our waterfront. I hope people had a chance to look at that while they were here. We have a very, very wonderful waterfront. But if you zoom out just a little bit and see the waterfront, the ships and so forth, they're right along here. And our transit mall, which was in one of the pictures, is up here. But if everybody's going to drive down there, these are our parking lots. The red is parking here in Buffalo at our waterfront. Our waterfront is really a big parking lot. And even the road that gets there, this is our Y-190, one of those horrible highways that was built along the river here, our waterfront. Of course, that gets congested as well. It's kind of, everybody thinks that Buffalo doesn't have a lot of congestion. We're not a real large city, but it doesn't take much to back things up and turn our highways into a parking lot as well. And if you think about it, if you want to build walkable, livable, places that attract people, you have to have a way to get them there. There's bike, you can walk, you can take a bike, but if you're from any far distance at all, there's only two options really, is car and transit. And we need to get people out of cars and into transit to change this picture. And the math is simple. I won't spend a lot of time, but if you want to get 1,000 people anywhere, you can put them on a train, or you can put them on 15 buses, or you can put them on several hundred cars with all the associated congestion and the huge parking lots that you then have to find a parking space and walk through. This is the same idea, same concept, just shown graphically. If everybody's going to drive a car, it takes a lot more space than if we just move the people. But of course, it's a difficult thing to do, because we've developed a cycle of dependency. We started out with people buying cars, and then we have an automobile-oriented transit planning focus on how we build our cities. That reduces our travel options. Alternate modes are stigmatized. If you don't have one of those nice cars, of course you're on the bus, you're not in your lower. The whole thing, it just builds on itself, it cycles around. We've got to break the cycle. And the way to do that is to make transit attractive, to make it work, to make it frequent, to make it comfortable. Here's a couple of pictures here. The map here is Buffalo. Right now we have a 6-mile system. It's the black part right here. We have a 46-mile plan that was put together in the late 1970s. But we've only built the 6-mile system. The previous presenter talked about the cost of transit, and it is true, it's very expensive. We're very fortunate here in Buffalo that all except for a few segments of these rights of way are existing rights of way publicly owned. And we used to be a railroad hub. We still have quite a bit of commercial rail here, but there's a lot of existing rights of way that can be made available for transit. So we want to move towards that. We've been working hard at doing that. There's starting to be some recognition of the importance of that, so I think we're starting to make progress in that. The issue, though, is that transit takes time. A lot of the presentations for new urbanism is pretty neat because it's organic. If you change zoning, if you put incentives out there, you start seeing mixed use. You start seeing some young people putting together their businesses, and it starts growing. But transit doesn't work that way. Transit needs planning. You have to plan it. You have to engineer it, design it. You have to get financing. You got to get public support for it. This takes time, so you can't afford to wait for transit. You've got to get that moving. You can do some things with bus, but even there, if you want to have dedicated lanes and so forth, it takes time. But transit also facilitates and accelerates the process of new urbanism because it stimulates that growth along where the transit is implemented. The good news here is that attitudes are changing. Back in the 70s and 80s, attitudes towards public transit were pretty poor. This is a result of a survey that was done by the GBNRTC. It's our local metropolitan planning organization, and they went out and asked, in this case, 240 people responded to this question. Clearly a public preference for investing in transit. So that's the good news. The bad news is we live in pretty difficult financial times. The Congress is pretty broken, and there's not a lot of money available to tap to build things. But it is happening. A lot of cities across the country are developing transit and extending their light rails and putting in streetcars and so forth. Some of the local and state solutions have included, raising taxes in some cases. A lot of public votes on that have been positive, and people have passed resolutions to actually have their taxes increased to be able to build transit. Incremental tax or incremental financing with taxes that businesses have agreed to do. In fact, in Tyson's Corners, the businesses actually petitioned to have their taxes raised so they could get the rail extended to their shopping areas that were clogged with transit. There's also some national things that have to happen. The gas tax, the fund is actually broke and is going to be bankrupt in August if something isn't done. We would like to see CNU use their clout and do more to lobby for more transit. Without transit, new urbanism is going to be hindered, and it won't work. You've got to have ways to move people, especially in the cities like Buffalo, like a lot of cities across the country that have sprawled out and out and out. We got long distances to move. We need to have some efficient ways to get people to our city centers. And I'm gonna end there. Just again, just like the new urbanism, we want to bring back the future. We used to have a great network of streetcars here in Buffalo in the 50s when everyone fell in love with their cars. We ripped them all up, and we don't have them anymore. So we've got to build them back. So, thank you.
So just a quick question for you. How long was the transit system, the Buffalo system? They have about 6 miles built, right?
Yes.
And what was the intention to do? You said
46? 40. It was, the original plan was 46 miles of light rail, using almost entirely existing rights of way, with networks of buses connecting to the further out locations. It's really interesting when you look at back in the 1950s. Buffalo had an extensive network, as I show here, of streetcars.
Yes.
Of streetcars, and we were about the same size as Toronto at that time, and they had an extensive network of streetcars as well. But Buffalo decided to rip up all their streetcars. Toronto decided to keep theirs and broke ground on a subway system. Their subway system is now 40 miles long. They're 5 times the size of Buffalo. Been very successful. We just made some bad decisions, so we need to fix those bad decisions. And transit,